Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Today is Thursday, July 2nd, and I want to take a couple of moments and give you a couple of highlights from the parashah or the Torah reading from the week before. And it is titled Korach. Korah or Korach was a Levite, a member of the house of Aaron. And, well, what's the last thing that a family needs? An insurrection, sedition, an upheaval, right in the heart of the family. A lot of interesting words that can be used. Insurrection, rebellion, sedition. None of them speak of good things at all in any type of a way, especially if it's in the middle of a group of people that are supposed to be in unity, and especially if it's among the people that are slated to be the servants in the house of the Most High. Okay, for every sedition or for every rebellion, the seeds of that potential rebellion can always be found, whether they be in actions earlier, before the actual event, or even in the words and the things that people say. So again, I'm going to take you briefly through a couple of the highlights, and I want you to keep a couple of things in mind. First off, remember that as Yeshua was walking with a couple of guys in the gospel account after his resurrection, he appeared to a couple of guys who were on their way to, I think, to Emmaus, the place is called. And he's talking with these guys, and they don't even realize that this is the Messiah talking with them. And he says to them that all things that are written in the Torah, the prophets, and the Psalms about him or about the Messiah has to be fulfilled. And then we have other writings which aren't a favorite of some viewers. So I'll leave it to your imagination to figure out where it is. But there are other writings among non-believers that agree that every single thing that's written in the Tanakh, everything is for the Messiah and with the Messiah in mind. So having said that, before I read you a little bit of the opening of the parashah Korach, because I believe that it's important that everyone hear or have the opportunity to hear the Bible in its original tongue. That was the intent. That was the idea of gathering. That was also the intent found in Acts chapter 15. After Jacob, who's called James, Jacob, the brother of Yeshua, made the decision about which things should be put upon the non-Jewish believers in order to gain fellowship into the assembly. And he selected 4 items that are found in Leviticus chapter 17 and also the whole of Leviticus chapter 18. But the follow-up verse after Jacob makes his statement, he makes a statement that in every city that Moshe or the Torah is read in every synagogue on every Shabbat. It was the intention of the Most High that his word would be heard weekly. But I'm not going to go immediately to Numbers chapter 16, which is where the parashah Korach can be found, Numbers chapter 16. I'm going to dip a few pages back to the parashah or to the Torah portion before that. And this is where the seeds of sedition can be traced. This is where the uprising was about to begin. So just to give you a little bit of background, the people had just sinned a grotesque sin by way of the spies. You remember? 10 of the 12 spies brought back a sinful or a faithless report, whereas Yehoshua and Caleb were the only 2 that trusted in the Most High to give them the land flowing with milk and honey. The other 10 talked about the great things that the land possessed, but they said it's all for naught and we can't do this and there's no way and we may as well go back to Egypt and the whole 9. Listen to the words that Yehoshua speaks to them after the 10 gives their bad report. This can be found in Numbers chapter 14, starting at, let's see, where do I want to go here? Starting at verse 8. And Yehoshua, or Joshua, says to them, if he desires, speaking of the Most High, if he desires us, the Most High, he will bring us to this land and give it to us. It is a land indeed that is flowing with milk and honey. Here's the key. Verse 9. Here's where the uprising starts. He says, Ach baYehovah al timrodu. Ach baYehovah al timrodu. Timrodu. The root of that word timrodu is equivalent to our letter M, R, D. Marad. Marad means to rebel. So Yehoshua is saying to them, but against the Most High, do not timrodu. Don't you rebel. Timrodu might sound familiar because if you've ever heard of Nimrod, the builder of the Tower of Babel, the guy who had the notion or the idea that being a great hunter and being a mighty man of renown, that's another can of worms, but being a mighty man of renown, he could build a tower that could reach up to the heavens. The whole notion of wanting to be like the Most High should sound familiar on a bunch of other scales as well too, but that's the root of that word. Nimrod, his actual name, Nimrod, means let us rebel. So Yehoshua is saying to the Israelites, al timrodu, don't you rebel against the Most High. Of course, we know how that turned out. The Israelites then picked up stones and attempted to stone Yehoshua and Caleb, and that brought about the wrath of the Most High. So I'm going to take you to the parashah this week, a couple of points, try to make this really sweet and brief. But I want to point out that the rebellion here is not so much against the leadership of Moshe and Aaron. It is indirectly, but the rebellion is more focused against the Most High himself. The Most High himself. They're using the people, Moshe and Aaron, as a target because they can see and handle and touch Moshe and Aaron, but they cannot do this with the Most High. So they're using them as a target. If I were the preacher type, I could take this and turn this into something about don't rebel against the people that the Most High has set in place. But since I don't know, and you don't know, my opinion, exactly who the Most High has truly established, I don't think that's the angle to take. Surely he has raised men and women in the world today to be these leaders and to be these disseminators of his word, but not in the fashion in which he established Moshe and the way he established Aaron. So I won't take that angle. Ultimately, when we rebel, it's ultimately against the Creator. Okay, so I'm going to read you the first few verses here from Numbers chapter 16, and it starts out saying, "Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kehat ben Levi vedatan va'aviram bnei Eliav on ben Pelet on bnei Reuven." So this guy Korach, who is a son of Levi, he grabs a couple of the sons of Reuben, Reuben being the oldest son of Jacob. These are ancestors of Reuven, or ancestors of Reuben, who was the oldest son, and therefore, along the lines of inheritance, the big guy. Of course, Reuben messed that up because if you remember back in the Tanakh, Reuben defiled his father's bed, and he got knocked down a few notches, to say the least. And Yehuda, or Judah, kind of became the leader in place of the oldest son. Well, Korach got together with a couple of the sons of Reuben, and they decided that they wanted to rebel against the Most High, okay, directly, but indirectly, they attacked the leadership, which would be Moshe and Aaron. It goes on to say, ויקומו לפני משה ואנשים מבני ישראל 50 ו200 נשיאי עדה קריאי מועד אנשי שם. And they gathered together 250 men. These men were the heads, or they were princes. They were chiefs among their tribes, and they were men of renown. Verse 3 says, ויקהלו al Moshe ve'al Aharon vayomru alehem rav lachem. So I'm going to stop there. Rav lachem. So they gathered, vayikahalu, to congregate or to gather. But this is a very aggressive word. They ganged up, literally. Hemmed up Moshe and Aharon, and they said the two words to them, Rav lachem. Rav meaning much, okay, or a lot. Lachem is on you, speaking to the two of them, Aharon and Moses. So what would that be equivalent to today? You've bitten off way too much that you can chew. Moses and Aaron. You're doing way too much. These are the words that they spoke to them. It's a rebuke. And why is he attempting to rebuke what we would think by now is the undisputed leadership of Moshe and Aharon, even though they're really rebelling against the Most High? But what is the rebuke? He goes on to say, כי כל העדה כולם קדושים ובתוכם יהוה ומדוע תתנשאו על קהל יהוה. All of us, the whole community, we're all holy. And the Most High dwells among us. And why is it that you two attempt to elevate yourselves above us? Okay, so what is the root? What is the root of this rebellion? Well, when we think of the obstacle, Hasatan, or the enemy of our souls, one of the first and oldest things that, he has typically done has been to take either the literal promises of the Most High and twist them, or take the very words of the Most High and attempt to turn them on themselves, or to call them an out-and-out lie. We know this from the garden with Adam. When Adam and Chava lived in the garden, Chava was approached by the Nachash, or the serpent, and he basically says, if you eat this, you will not surely die. Because why? Because the Most High knows that in the day that you eat this, you will become a god, or you will become just like him. See the goal, see the motivation. I'm not satisfied in the lot that I'm in, and I never will be. But for right now, I want what this person has. Or I want to be that which that person has reverence to. I want to ultimately be the one that's worshipped. All this time. What is written about Chilal in the book Isaiah, where it says that I will raise my throne above the stars of the heavens, and I will be as the Most High. Okay, iniquity was found in this Chilal, son of the morning. And what was the aspiration of this entity? To be all-powerful. So again, these same tones come back over and over again. Just now, it's in a human form, and it's in rebellion. So now, I told you the phrase, Rav lachem, you're doing too much, is what they said to Moshe and Aaron. But I'm going to tell you something. Moshe, by no stretch of the imagination, was a weak or a scary man. Because in verse 6, I believe, of chapter 16, where we still are, Numbers chapter 16, Moshe, after he returns a rebuke of his own, he gives the same two words back to them. Okay, so Moshe says, let's see, Zotasu, this you should do. Okay, Kechulahem mahtot korach v'chol edutot. Take a censer pan, a metal censer pan that can be used to offer, right? That can hold hot coals. Okay, utnu bahen esh v'simu alehen ketoret lifnei Yehovah mahar. Take this, all right, and put upon it fire from the altar and a little ketoret, or a spice or incense, to take before the Most High tomorrow. So notice, this challenge is coming, right? But he says tomorrow. Moses says tomorrow. Why not handle it right then and there? If you're familiar with this story, you might ask yourself, why not handle it right then and there? Well, it appears, at least in my humble opinion, that Moshe is going to give these guys a night to sleep on this tremendously stupid rebellion. He's going to give them a night to lay down and think about it. Tomorrow, we're all going to take censers, put fire from the altar on it, add spice, and we're going to take it to draw close to the Most High in the morning. So now you can sleep on this and see if you can come to your senses in the morning. It didn't happen, of course, as you know. Continuing on, it says, V'haya, and then it will be, Ha'isha sheriv ha'rihuwa hu hakadosh rav lachem b'nei Levi. Then it will be that on tomorrow, the Most High, he will choose who the one is that is separated, and then he returns the words to Korach, Datan, and Aviram, and he says to them, Rav lachem, you've done way too much. Okay? Pitch and return. Pitch and return. I mentioned to you earlier about the words and how the enemy of our souls and the sinful will actually try to take the words of the Most High and either twist and contort them or turn them into a lie. So in verse 13 of the same chapter, chapter 16, Moshe had just said, well, you know what? I want Datan and Aviram to come here because they're in league with you, Korach, and I want them to come up here so that we can deal with them, or so that the Most High can deal with them. Here's what they say. When you're wrong, you can be arrogant, wrong, and even defiant. This is the enemy of our soul. It's the MO of the enemy of our soul. And now we're finding it embodied in the stubbornness and sinfulness of Datan and Aviram and Korach. So Moshe, okay, verse 12, it says, Vayishlach Moshe leKorach likro leDatan v'la'Aviram b'nei Eliyav vayomru lo na'aleh. So he sent for Datan and Aviram, and they said, Lo na'aleh, we will not come up. We will not come to you. We're not going to come. Verse 13, listen to the smack that they're talking. They say basically, it is a small thing that you have brought us up from a land flowing with milk and honey. Can you believe that? From a land flowing with milk and honey. So now they're saying that Egypt, the place that they just left from, Beit Ovadim, the house of bondage, that they cried to get out of and begged for, deliverance. Hoshiana, Hoshiana. Save us, save us. So now he's saying to Moshe, it's no small thing, tough guy, that you brought us up out of a land flowing with milk and honey. So now he's taking the words of the Most High and turning them into a lie. Because remember, in the previous Torah portion, Yehoshua and Caleb said indeed that it was an Eretz Zavat Halav Udvash, that it is truly a land flowing with milk and honey. They brought back the proof with the oversized fruit and everything. But now, Datan and Abiram are saying, yeah, you brought us out of a place that was already paradise, basically. the Most High is a liar, is what this guy is saying. Okay? And then he says, you brought us up from a land flowing with milk and honey, lahamitenu, to put us to death, bamidbar, in the desert. And then now you attempt to dominate us even more. Okay? So that was the point that I wanted to make to you from the outset. That not only the enemy of our souls, not only is he's the author, and the founder of rebellion, of sinfulness, of attempting to undo the power of the word of the Most High, but as manifest in Datan and Aviram and in Korah, you can see the same characteristics. The same characteristics. Okay? The Most High says, I will send you into Canaan, the land flowing with milk and honey, Eretz Zavat, Halav Udvash. And then they turn around and said, it's bad enough that you took us from the place. We were okay. We don't need any of this. Now, these guys later on were putting together a contingency to turn around and go back to Egypt. It's in the text. So twice. The first time, when Moshe attempted to send for Datan and Aviram, they said, Lo na'ale, we won't come up. Then they double up. They double up on it. Verses 12 and 14. If you go a little further. Verses 12 and 14. And they say again, nope, we're not coming up. So they said, verse 14, Aflo el aretz zavat halav udavash haviotenu. Not only have you not brought us to a land flowing with milk and honey, vataten lanu nahalat sadeh v'charem, and you have not given us an inheritance of fields and of vineyards. And then he says, ha'inei anashim ahem tenaker lo na'ale. And even the eyes of the people you would gouge up. No, we're not coming up. Lo na'ale, we're not coming up. Lo na'ale, no, we're not coming up. Twice defiantly. Okay? Twice defiantly. It's the same thing. What's the opposite of a sinful, rebellious person? The opposite of a sinful and a rebellious person, and it's, again, we can't lose sight of the fact that these aren't just everyday people. These are the Levi. One of them is the Leviim. Korach is a member of the house of Aaron. You've already been assigned the great honor of being the people whose inheritance is Yud He Vav He himself. You have the distinction, the mystique, if you would, of being the people that serve either directly in the sanctuary or with everything that's associated with the sanctuary. In the case of Korach and his family, they did not serve directly in the sanctuary, but they were a part of the overall setup. But apparently it wasn't enough. Because Moshe said, when they first started to rebel, it's not enough that you have the honor of having this job, of working directly and serving the Most High, and now you even want the priesthood? And then who is Aaron that you would rebel or murmur against him? So again, even Moshe still understood that the rebellion was against the Most High himself. What's the difference, though? What's the direct opposite of this type of wickedness? It is found in the humility and the messianic archetypes of Moshe and Aharon. But don't sleep on Aaron. Don't sleep on Aaron. A lot of people have seen archetypes of the Messiah throughout the Tanakh, rightfully so. Joseph was an archetype of the Messiah, okay? Given away to the nations, thrown into the belly of the earth only to resurrect, right? Went and saved people that were not his, but then eventually it caught his salvation of people that were not his caught the eyes of his actual people, and they came and they were saved, right? We have Noah, who built the ark, right? And preserved life. He's an archetype. So many, right? But don't sleep on Aaron. And I'm going to show you how Aaron, being the high priest, not only is he one of the most powerful archetypes of Mashiach Yeshua, he's an archetype of the priest, or the level of a priest that Yeshua would be, or who he is now. But just, again, of a much better agreement, and much more mighty of a priest, eternal in the heavens. All right, I get excited just thinking about it. Okay, so we've already talked about the standing in defiance of the wicked people. Okay, look at their mirror opposites. Every time something went down, every time the people murmured or rebelled, every time the people vayikahalu gathered up or ganged up on Moshe and Aaron, what did they do? What was their response? And Moshe fell on his face. And Moshe and Aaron fell on their face. And Moshe and Aaron fell on their face. How many times did it show up? I wrote it down. Or I wrote a few of them down. Numbers chapter 16, verse 4. Numbers chapter 16, verse 22. Numbers chapter 16, verse 45. Numbers chapter 17, verse 10. And I can go on and on and on and on. Poor Moshe and Aaron must have had a groove in the middle of their foreheads, permanently in there, from falling on their faces before the tent of meeting. And why are they doing this? Is it because they're weak? Is it because they're passive? Is it because they're afraid of the people? No. They realize the sinfulness of the people, and they fall on their face to make intercession. They're down on their faces praying that the Most High will forgive these people who are charging them with some pretty nasty things. Okay. The shadows of the Messiah that I mentioned, and I'm going to be done here. There's so much in these Torah cycle readings that could be done, but I don't want to go so long to the point to where these videos can be burdensome. But the shadows of the Messiah, okay? The shadows of the Messiah that both Moshe and Aaron both displayed. We know of the ones of Moshe. He's the only one to that point who spoke panim mul panim to the Most High, face to face with the Most High, stood in his presence. Altered he was altered by his personal deep encounters with the Most High, walking up onto the top of the mountain and stepping into the Arafel, into the darkness, and into the voices, and into the thunderings and the lightnings, into the presence of the Most High, speaking audibly to the Most High from Horeb, the mountain, and the Most High answering him. Okay? We know this as a go-between. We know the role that Moshe has played. But let's talk about Aaron here as I get ready to close this. So I'm going to take you to this one point that I found really fascinating. And it's funny because if you're reading or you're doing whatever, you might have the tendency to kind of like just blow right over it. It's going to be found in Numbers chapter 17, verse 13. So if we go over a chapter to Numbers 17 and verse 13, I found this to be a holy cow moment, okay? A holy cow moment with how much pull Aaron actually had. So there was another instance where, once again, Moshe and Aaron find themselves laying on their faces, right? Because of the stupidity, the callousness, and the sinfulness of the people. So in verse 10 of Numbers chapter 17, here are the words of the Most High. He says to Moshe and Aaron, Hiromu mitoch ha'edah hazot ve'achalei otam karega. remove yourselves, erase yourselves up from among these people, and I will exterminate them. I will devour them in a moment. And what happened? No surprise. Vayiplu al panehem, and on their faces fell Moses and Aaron. They're making intercession. Now imagine this. These two brothers are on the ground, face down, but Moses turns to Aaron and he says to him, ויאמרו משה אל אהרון, קח את המחתה ותן עליה אש מעל המזבח ושים קטורת הולך מהרה אל העדה וכפר עליהם כי יצא הקצף מלפני יהוה החל הנגב. Take your fire pan really quickly. Aaron, really quickly, take your fire pan, get some fire from the altar, put some incense on it, and hurry, mahera, hurry, and run and make atonement for the people, because a pestilence has gone out from before YHVH, and a plague has started. Right? I don't know if I could have moved, but Aaron finds the wherewithal and he jumps up, right? In verse 12, and it says this, Vayikach Aharon kasher diber Moshe vayaratz el toch hakahal. So Aaron grabbed a hold to what Moshe had told him and did as he said, and he ran toward the kahal, or toward the congregation of people. 9/11. No conspiracy, tinfoil hat, anything here. 9/11. Heroes ran toward a burning and falling building as people ran away. And I know, people know of the story. I'm not into the politics and the whodunit part. The point I'm trying to make is that who runs toward the disaster as opposed to away from it? Someone who is not only brave, but someone who is obviously confident in who they are. Runs toward the burning building is what Aaron does. It says, Veyaratz el toch kahal, and he ran toward the kahal, or toward the congregation. Vehine hechel hanegev ba'am, and behold, the plague had already started from among the people. Vayiten et haktoret vayichaper al ha'am, and he took the ktoret, or the spices, and he made atonement for the people. And here it is, verse 13, chapter 17, verse 13. Perfect picture of Mashiach Yeshua in this archetype. That's Aaron. Vayamod bein hametim uvein ha'chayim v'te'atzer hamagifa. And Aaron stood literally between the living, bein hametim uvein ha'chayim, between the living and the dead, and he halted the plague. And he halted the plague. Can you picture that? He runs into the trouble. He runs into a bunch of people who are dropping like flies, and he places himself between the living and the dead, and he halts the magifa, or the plague, right? And those that died that day, v'hiyu amitim b'magifa, 14,000, 14,700 people, not counting milvad amitim al devar korach, not counting the people who had been swallowed up because of the sin of Korach. Because remember, the ground opened up and swallowed Korach, his wife, Tapam, his kids, Verechush, and everything that he owned. The earth swallowed them alive and took them she'olah, or into the grave, as the Torah puts it. Into the grave alive. Okay, finally, you guys. So that's the opposite of rebelliousness and sinfulness and desiring to be above and be beyond all, desiring to want the glory, desiring to want the gravitas, wanting the clout, but not the responsibility or the consequences that come with standing in that role. Glory seekers, hounds, but ultimately wanting to rebel against the Most High. That's the opposite of Datan and Aviram. It, the opposite of those two are the characteristics of Moshe and Aharon on their faces, standing in the gap, throwing themselves in harm's way for people who downright don't deserve it. Downright don't deserve it. Finally, a sign had to be given to a bunch of rebellious people. Finally, again, remember, show us a sign, show us a sign, show us a sign. Well, a sign had to be given to the rebellious people to prove that Aaron and Moshe were called. Okay? Because even after this, when the ground opened up and swallowed all of these guys with Korach, right? They said, oh my gosh, you've killed God's people. This is what the rebellious people said to Moshe and Aaron, as if Moshe and Aaron have power in and of themselves. You just killed the people of the Most High. And then a fire went out from the altar and consumed the 250 would-be glory hounds who were trying to draw close, trying to offer incense in the presence of the Most High, and he consumed them. And the machtot, or the fire pans that fell out of the lifeless bodies, burned to ash of these 250 insurrectionists, the Most High commanded Moshe and Aaron to have them pound out those metal pans into flat sheets and literally to cover or decorate the mizbeach, or the altar, as a mishmeret, as a reminder forever before the people of Israel. So, shadows of Messiah in closing here. In chapter 17, verse 23, in a nutshell here, the Most High said, I need to show these people, to shut them up finally. Show them that Moshe, I've chosen you, and that more importantly, I've chosen Aharon as the high priest. Have the heads of each tribe, the most esteemed men of each tribe, take a dead stick, a staff, a mateh. Take this dead stick, write the name of the tribe that you descend from. Gather these 12 sticks and put them inside the tent of meeting and leave them. Okay, so every head of the tribe wrote the name Issachar, Zvulun, Asher, Yosef, and on and on and on. And of course, Aaron wrote Levi on his stick. And they put these 12 dead sticks inside of the tent of meeting. Moshe did. He laid them in there, laid these 12 dead sticks in the darkness. Can you see it? Lays these 12 dead sticks in the darkness. Think of all the people that have come from before who attempted to make themselves be more than who they actually were. And when their lives were taken, when they were laid in the darkness, they did not get up. They didn't get up. When Moshe goes back into the tent of meeting the next day and picks up the sticks, chapter 17, verse 23 is going to tell us what happened. Let's see. ויהי ממחרת, ויבוא משה אל אוהל העדה, והנה פרח מטה אהרון לבית לוי, ויוצא פרח, ויצץ ציץ, ויגמול שקדים. So it was that when Moshe went back into the tent of meeting that he found that Aaron's mateh, or Aaron's staff, had blossomed. Not only had it blossomed, it flowered, and it gave veyatzet tzitz, and it gave a shoot. And it had fully ripened almonds on it. The other 11 sticks were dead. Other 11 sticks were dead. But Aaron's stick blossomed and flowered and gave fully ripened almonds to shut the mouths of the people. So as you can see, or you can imagine if you're familiar with the Brit Chadashah, the New Testament, that generation, give us a sign, give us a sign, give us a sign, give us a sign. The greatest of signs didn't do these stiff-necked people much good. Didn't do them much good. But nonetheless, give us a sign, give us a sign. In closing, I want to take you to the other side of that comparison. Yeshua, the Messiah, born in Bethlehem, okay? Intercession and humility. Isaiah chapter 53. Yet it pleased the Most High to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Most High shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. And by his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Humbled himself unto execution on a stake. The opposite of the insurrectionists. And in the book called Jude, right before the book called Revelation, there's a reference to Korah. Surprise? No, he's immortalized in the New Testament, or in the Brit Chadashah. Verse 9 of Jude, it says, Yet Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, did not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, The Lord rebuke you. But these speak evil of those things which they know not, okay, verse 10, but what they know naturally as brute beasts, in those things they corrupt themselves. Verse 11, Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and they perish in the gainsayings of Korah. In the gainsayings of Korah. And we'll let the words of the book of Hebrews take us home. Hebrews chapter 7, starting at verse 22. Why did the priesthood fail? What was that which was fading away? What was that was waxing old and that was fading away? Was it the Torah? No. Not the Torah in and of itself, which most of modern Christianity makes the huge mistake. That which was waxing old and fading away was the office of the priesthood. Right? Why? Because it says, having found fault with them. What was the fault with them? Well, they were human. They were sinful. In order to be eligible to make a sin offering for someone else, they had to make a sin offering for themselves first, right? And then hope that they did everything right. Or you walk into the sanctuary and you drop dead and they have to drag you out by the rope that's tied around your foot. But more than that, they were mortal. They were human. They died. They could not stand in the gap between God and man, between the Most High and man, forever. But Yeshua, being a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek, was different. He did not have to offer a sin offering for himself because he was without sin. And because he was resurrected and exalted and glorified, he is immortal and he has no end. So therefore he stands forever in the presence of YHVH as an advocate for you and for I, making constant intercession for us. Let these words take you home, and I hope that they are a comfort to you. Hebrews chapter 7, verse 21 through 28. For those priests were made without an oath, but this with an oath by him that said unto him, The Lord swear, or the Most High swear, and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. By so much was Yeshua made a surety, or a guardian of a better testament. And they truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. They expired, basically. They're mortal, like you and I. Verse 24. But this man, because he continueth forever, hath an unchangeable priesthood, ladies and gentlemen. Wherefore he is able to save them to the utmost that come unto God by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them. For such an high priest became, for such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needeth not daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins, and then for the people's. For this he did once, when he offered up himself. For the law maketh men high priests which have infirmity, but the word of the oath, which was since the law, maketh the Son, who is consecrated forevermore. 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 Okay. So let's not be insurrectionists. Let's be the support. Let's be the upholding and the uplifting. Let's not rebel against the Most High. We're not perfect, no, but we have an advocate, eternal in the heavens, standing and making intercession for you and I forever and ever. He loves us. He's our Mashiach, Yeshua. I hope this has been a blessing to someone, and that you can use it for life, okay? For life, everything about life. Okay, I look to see you all again real soon. Shabbat. Shalom.